Hey, it's Joseph here with another video, and today I'm only going to look at one album, and that album is Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Blood, Sweat, and Tears 4, and this album has been a favorite of mine ever since it was first released back in 1971. I've always been a big fan of Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And anyways, let's take a look at this one. I recently purchased this one at my local shop. I've seen it in the bins for many, many years. And recently I traded in some albums, so I had some credit. I needed to fill it, make do with the rest of my credit. And I said, hey, finally I got to add this one back. Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Blood, Sweat, and Tears 4. So as I showed you the album cover, this is actually a gatefold, pretty cool. It opens up to show all the band members there. And it's got great notes by noted jazz writer, pop writer Don Heckman. And what's unique about this album is this finds the band recording in San Francisco. Of course, Blood, Sweat, and Tears was primarily known as a New York-based band. And I think they kind of wanted a different approach for this album. So they relocated for the time of the recording to the San Francisco Bay Area and hope that they would get maybe a different vibe, be energized. Because I say this was their fourth album, and I find that it had a very good result. So, anyways, let's go track by track. And first track on the album is "Go Down Gamblin'." That's a ripping track. I've been listening to that one quite a bit. It's got, of course, David Clayton Thomas on lead vocal. And what's unique about that one is Clayton Thomas is also playing some guitar. And David Clayton Thomas was from Canada. He had some blues roots. I think at one time he actually performed or was part of John Lee Hooker's band. But on "Go Down Gamblin'," it's a smoker and he's playing some ripping guitar solos and the horns are punching and it's a great opener. "Go Down Gamblin'." Next up is a slow song, a ballad called "Cowboys and Indians." I always liked this song. Now, in retrospect, it might be kind of corny. It's a guy kind of reminiscing about playing cowboys and Indians and how the Indians were treated unfairly, as they still are today. But another highlight about this song is the beautiful horn arrangements by, I believe it's Dick Halligan. And Dick Halligan is also the composer, keyboardist, multi-instruments he could play, flute, piano, organ. I always have enjoyed his arrangements, the late, great Dick Halligan. And he kind of has like a Western feel, obviously ties in with the title, somewhat reminiscent of the horn sounding on their big hit, "And When I Die." But it's Cowboys and Indians. Next up is John the Baptist. What's unique about this one, it's a callback to the Al Cooper days because this song is an Al Cooper arrangement, composition. Of course, Al Cooper was the original singer, and he's the one who originally first got the band together on that first album, "Child is the Father to the Man." But this is a great song, John the Baptist. It's got some, of course, holy elements, and I really enjoy that. Um, and then next up is actually another religious themed, you might say, and it's called "Redemption." It's got a great killer drum solo on the intro, more Bible themes, and a ripping trombone solo by trombonist Dave Bargeron. So really enjoyed those two religious elemented gospel type cuts. And then next up is more of a pop sounding tune called "Lisa Listen to Me." It's a song about a young woman who's been in a bad relationship and needs to come out of it. And it's got good pop sensibilities with a great vocal by Clayton Thomas. And then each side of the albums ends with a quiet interlude by Fred Lipsius. Of course, Fred Lipsius was the alto sax player, piano player in the band. And it's a great way to close the albums. It kind of reminds me of Bill Evans, Bill Evans' touch. It's all piano. Kind of reminds me of those pieces that finish out the sides of "Everybody Digs Bill Evans." But it's a great way to end side one. Next on side two is side two actually has quite I think 3 songs by guitarist Steve Katz. I always have enjoyed his material. And this one, the first one is "High on a Mountain." It's a ballad sung by, in this case, it's not sung by Steve Katz, but by Clayton Thomas, and it's a beautiful song. And Clayton Thomas sings it very well. Next up is another Katz song, but this one is called Valentine's Day, and it's got Steve Katz on vocal. Really enjoy this one. It's a very tender, moving love song, and like I say, Katz has always written great music. Of course, everybody remembers sometimes in winter on the second Blood, Sweat and Tears album. That was a great composition by Steve. And on this cut, Valentine's Day, it's got a beautiful middle section with Lou Solif really shining on trumpet and piccolo trumpet, which is kind of unique other than Penny Lane. But anyways, another beautiful Steve Katz song. I also love the New York feel, the New York folk feel of Steve Katz songs. Next up is a cover, which is kind of rare. This album only has, I think, one cover on the whole album, which is unique for Blood, Sweat, and Tears. On this one, they concentrated mainly on originals. But on this one, they covered "Take Me in Your Arms." Believe that's the Isley tune, and it's a really cooker. The horns are really punching. Clayton Thomas is in fine forms on vocal, and got a great solo, alto sax solo by Fred Lipsius. Next is there's another Cat song next called For My Lady. Very beautiful horns in the intro, very romantic and very touching composition by Cats. And the horns are just have the right touches throughout. More by the arrangements by Dick Halligan and Fred Lipsius throughout the album. A nice little toy box piano in the middle section, and really nice song. And next is the only song that I don't think really works quite as well, maybe my least favorite. It's called Mama Gets High. It's another Steve Katz tune in collaboration with trombonist Dave Bargeron. But it's kind of a New York, a Dixieland feel, Dixieland rock, if you might. And it's okay, and it's got some great Dixieland horns that take it out, but it's probably my least favorite track on the album. And then it goes back to the interlude, A Look to My Heart, with Fred Lipsius playing that Bill Evans type quiet piano. But in this case, it's got Lou Solif playing some really touching and beautiful trumpet going out in tandem with the piano. So it's a beautiful way to end the album, very quiet and touching. But I was really glad that I picked up this album. The album kind of reckons back to my youth when I used to be really excited every time Blood, Sweat, and Tears would release an album. And this is in some ways their swan song, because after this album, Clayton Thomas would leave the band, Fred Lipsius would leave the band, Dick Halligan would leave the band, and so it would be a different, somewhat of a different formation of the band with Jerry Fisher taking vocals and Clayton Thomas actually would come back a couple albums later, but the band kind of never would really regroup, would really bounce back to those glory years of the first four albums. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this quick, somewhat deep dive into Blood, Sweat, and Tears 4. If you're a fan of Blood, Sweat, and Tears from the days, or maybe you've never even heard of them, check them out. It's got some exciting jazz rock. Till next time, Joseph out.